All right, hopefully my cloud has enough space to hold everything. That would be nice. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Today, I'm going to introduce you to a program that I've run in the past. I called it something different, but we're calling it the 5-day reset. And this is the kickoff call for that. So we're going to have plenty of time for questions at the end. So if things come up, you can just pop them in the chat. And if I don't get to them as we talk about it, then we'll get to them at the end of the Q&A session. All right. All right. So let's see how that chat box works today. And just pop in the chat box what brought you here today. Why did you decide to tune in? You can pop in there where you're from too. So let everybody know where you're from. I'll pop in there where I'm from right now. Whoop. All right. Oh, Ontario, Canada. This is from Ontario. A little north of Toronto, I think, right? I think so. And let's see. Hold on, I think we got somebody. Oh, there we go. Got a few more people coming in here. All right. Whoop, whoop. Right. Okay, lots of things coming in. Some AI fireflies and otters and read AIs and all kind of things. So, all right, so here we go. Again, if you are able to plop in the chat box, where you're from, west of Hamilton. All right, cool. Like I said, I'm from Pittsburgh. I think Ethan popped in here. Jackie popped in here. So awesome. Thanks for coming to the show. Like I said before, you can pop questions in the chat box anytime you'd like.
Yeah.
I'll either answer those as we go through the presentation, or let me find everybody here. Here we go. Okay, we got we got one open mic here. Okay, there we go. Those open mics will get you every time. All right, so again, thanks for coming. Just if you want to pop in the box while you're here today, that'd be great. I'd love to hear what brought you to the show today. And today we're going to talk a little bit about what a reset is, how this is going to progress over next week, how to set yourself up for success, and some other little things to do in the meantime as you ramp up to Monday, but also on Monday when you do the reset, and what are those additional things that you can do to even make your reset even better. I used to call this a detox. Why do we call it a detox? Think about all those things that we're exposed to throughout a week, throughout a year, throughout our whole lives. All right, we have air pollution, we have water pollution, microplastics, all kind of different things that settle into our body that we need to kind of cleanse and roll out of there, right? So this is an opportunity for us to kind of reset our whole system to set our lives up for success. All right. Why did I decide to do this? Yeah, way back in 2011, I was not happy with how I was feeling, how I was looking, had brain fog, um, so-called ADHD at the time, and I wanted to find a way out. So one of those things that I found that really helped me was the nutrition side of it. So this really helps to clean up a lot of those things that we are exposed to day in and day out, and even some allergens that we do have that we might not notice that we have, we can address um, over this next week or over this next week. So after I cleaned up my diet in 2011, 2012, I had a lot more energy, my mood improved, I had much more focus on what I was doing at the time, and I just felt like at the time when I did that, weight kind of just dropped off of me. I lost 30 pounds in 3 months, which was amazing. Nobody at the time would have said that I was overweight, but I'm sure you can relate that when you're in your own skin and you don't feel like things fit the way they should, or you just are looking at yourself and you're just not where you used to be. You kind of that was kind of my aha moment that hey, we need to we need to start thinking about making a change here. So I made that change, and so many awesome things happened. I'm not going to go too much more into my story because there's lots of other things that went into that and that I changed to get to this point. But I wanted to share this stuff with as many people as I could. Um, those small changes in nutrition really helped me along. And I just want to share those little secrets with everybody else. I don't want anybody to have to take, 10, 15 years to figure all this out, by yourself. So I like to guide people along to help them get to a better place quicker. So let's talk a little bit about the detoxification process or the reset process. So there are basically 4 things in your body that help you get rid of waste. And in the Zoom chat, just put what do you think those 4 things are that help you get rid of waste? Any ideas? There's 3 that do this all the time. Then there's 1 as a last resort. So your body doesn't really get to this point until, all else fails. So Melissa said the liver. Yeah, that's one thing that helps detoxify us. Kidneys is another thing. So bowels is another thing. So help get rid of your solid waste. Your kidneys help you get rid of liquid waste. And what else? There's one more organ that really does a lot of detoxification that in our mind we might not think about it that way. Any other one you can think of? I'll get the skin in a minute. One more. Our lungs are the other one that helps get rid of waste, help us get rid of that carbon dioxide and anything else we can spew out. So the last resort, like Melissa said, is your skin. So once our skin starts breaking out, that's kind of like the last way that our body helps us get rid of toxins. So like acne is one way that your body could potentially get toxins out of its system that you would actually see on your skin. And there's some other skin issues that you could have that are just your body trying to release the toxins. All right. So there's toxins in our food, there's toxins in the air, there's toxins in the water, and our bodies can easily get overwhelmed with this toxin load that we're exposed to. And there's a lot more toxins in our system or in our lives that we're going to talk about. We can talk about a different day because we don't have time enough to talk about that today. But a lot of these things overwhelm us and contribute to our stress load. And if you've listened to any of the stuff that I've put on the internet about stress, our bodies are not designed to handle as much stress as we give it every single day. Riding in the car, if you drive in the car a lot, that's a stressful event. All right. And our brains have to deal with all of that stuff going past us. Basically, our brain can only process information as fast as we can run. So anytime we're going any faster than we can run, then our body has to take extra time, or our brains need to take extra time in order to process that information. So, Melissa and I can probably get into ways that we can help decrease our stress a little bit, but that is for another day. All right. So during the 5 days where we're going to kind of just look basically at nutrition, there's ways that you can up the ante for yourself to further and deepen the ways that you can help decrease your stress and eliminate toxins. And we'll get to some of those in a little bit. But we want to release these chemicals, and we want to release them as quickly as we can. Also, let's talk about something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, which is, number 2. So number 2 is a way to get rid of your solid waste out of your system. But our body has an incredible reabsorption ability to reabsorb anything that we dump into our intestines. So if things are not moving out, if the cars are not coming off the tracks fast enough, then our body reabsorbs those things. So the best example of that is heavy metals. All right, we don't want to really think that we have heavy metals in our system, but let's say we get a little bit of mercury from, some fish that we eat. It's fine. Our bodies can take care of that. But if we're not having those regular bowel movements, then our body will reabsorb that mercury a little bit further down the track. So we want to make sure that we're regular. So if we're not as regular as we should be, then we need to think about other ways to make the cars bump off the track a little bit faster. If you get what I'm talking, if you get the tracks that I'm laying down. All right. So when we're doing this, when we're trying to limit our toxin load and we start eating nutrient-dense food, that gives our body a little bit of break to do that detoxification. So over these 5 days, we'll limit the amount of toxins that are going in as best we can. We can't too much control the air that we breathe. We can control the water that we drink a little bit. Some of us can control it a lot, but some of us are just drinking what is readily available. So another thing to keep in mind, this is a very gentle way to go about detoxification. So we're not like chelating any heavy metals in our system during these 5 days. We're using a whole foods approach to limit the inflammation and the amount of toxins that we're getting, throughout this 5 days. So, a couple things to think about in your everyday life. So, are you experiencing those like afternoon kind of crashes of energy? Gut dysbiosis, those kind of things, inconsistencies with how our body works, digestion or otherwise, or your weight's creeping up a little bit. These are all signs that your body needs a break and wants a break. So that's the purpose of doing this little reset. All right. So what's the goal of this? The goal of this, when you look at all the recipes that are in that are options for you for the 5 days that we'll do this. This is taking basically all the processed foods out. Some of you have talked about, like Grant, I've talked about processed foods. We've had many conversations about processed foods and what they do to us. And we're going to transition from those processed foods, if you're a little bit heavy on that, to whole foods. All right. So those include like fruits and vegetables and quality protein and ancient grains. It's a little bit different than our regular grains. Okay. And recognizing the habits that we have and kind of putting more of those together to support our health and wellness through these 5 days and hopefully beyond. And we'll talk a little bit more about, if you latch onto the program on Thursday, we're going to have a post detox meeting, which will be on day 4, but it'll be towards the end of day 4. But what are the keys to make the progress that you've made over these 5 days last far into the future? So we'll do that next Thursday. So what kind of things might you expect by doing this? And, I like to say May because it is May. I've seen people lose a lot of weight. I've seen people lose 2 to 13 pounds in 5 days. All right. My dad actually lost 13 pounds in 5 days. All right. Obviously, your body's not going to process 13 pounds of fat in 5 days, but it is a good opportunity for your body to release inflammation that you have. And sometimes that could be a lot. Sometimes it could be 13 pounds. All right. I know I've coached some people that do endurance events, and they routinely gain 5 to 10 pounds after the event. Right. That's not because they're gaining weight. Obviously, when you do an endurance event, you're not gaining weight, but it's from inflammation, from basically torturing your muscles. I have done a bunch of 50K races, and at the end, I'm sore. Soreness is an indication that you have inflammation. So, when you have inflammation, your body holds on to water as well, and it wants to help fix all of those things that have been broken down during that time. So, what else have I seen happen to people over this 5-day period? Better digestion, all right, is one. Some people have a lot more energy. Some people have improved mental clarity, so they're able to think better, which is magic, right? Even more magical than that is I've had people say that they sleep better. So sleeping is when the real magic happens and your body can actually go in and repair itself. So a couple things that might happen on those first couple days, if you're really not used to eating a lot of whole foods, is that you may be cranky as your body is like, well, where's all my processed foods? You're giving me this energy that I could easily utilize, and I could be lazy and just use the sugar that you were giving me and do all the tasks that I wanted to do for the day. But now you're saying, hey, we're going to eat these nutritious whole foods, and I'm not really ready for that yet. So you could be cranky for a couple days. I've also had some people report that they have headaches because their brains just are used to getting that quick sugar. And when you don't get that quick sugar anymore, then your body has to kind of re-equilibrate so that it can use the food that you're giving it. One thing I always tell people is think about your food as information, because that's what food is to your body. Like food for us, and as we think about it, is, oh, does it taste good? Is it this or that? But basically, any food that you give it is information. So I'd like to use this extreme example just to give you an idea of, what that really means. So imagine you give yourself 200 calories worth of Skittles. Or you give yourself 200 calories worth of broccoli. So think about the information that you're giving your body. And how's your body going to react to that? Is it going to have a favorable response? Or maybe it's going to revolt against you, right? We can have some extreme things happen to our body when we do those things. But I'm sure you can name about 500 people that just do that all the time. Have a bag of Skittles, have a Snickers bar, have this prepackaged thing all the time. And what happens? We get into this fog and people just think it's normal. And until you do this little experiment with yourself, because it's always N=1 experiment, it's always an experiment of what works best for you. Until you do that experiment and see what could possibly happen, then people are just going through life in this daze that they always think is just normal. It doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. So there is a way to think more clearly. There is a path of, being more organized in your everyday life. There is a path of just feeling better and not having gut dysbiosis. That's all there, and it's available. We just got to find a way that works for us and do that. So let's talk about how we prepare for this 5-day. First of all, if you latch onto the program, then I'm going to send you a bunch of documents. All right. The first document I'm going to send you, I'm going to show you a few things in the handbook. So the handbook is very, very, very detailed. I think Faye will tell you that. She went through all of that handbook, and there's things in there of what not to eat and the reasons why, especially for these 5 days. After these 5 days, you can go back to however you want, but I'd love for you to see what difference those 5 days can make. And I know it's not very much time. The second thing will be a smoothie guide. So if you get into a pinch and you just need to make a smoothie for yourself to get yourself out the door and nourished, that'll be available to you. I'll give you all the recipes for the week. Now, keep in mind that there are a bazillion recipes in there. So when we talk about what to actually use for that particular week, you're going to have a lot of choices. You just have to go through there and pick and choose what you feel is going to work for you in your upcoming week, because every week is different. Things look differently from even day to day. So just be aware of that. And there's way too many things in there for you to eat for 5 days. All right. There's also an option for like I said, a smoothie, and then I like to just call them like kind of kitchen sink salads, where you just have all these things and you just throw it on a salad. One example that I usually do for lunch is I throw, sardines, avocados, walnuts, blueberries on a salad with some avocado oil dressing, and that's it. It doesn't take me that much time to prepare, and it's got a ton of nutrients in it, protein, all that good stuff. But I do eat sardines, and I know a lot of people don't like sardines. The other two things that you'll get is a blank shopping list and a shopping list. If you take the shopping list to the store, you're going to have so much stuff in your cart that you'll never be able to eat it all. So there's a blank shopping list. So if you take the regular shopping list and just circle the stuff that you want to get, or do the blank shopping list and just fill in as you go, whatever works for you. All right. Any questions about that? I'm going to show you a couple examples of those things here in a minute. So I know I talked about this with Grant and a bunch of other people that I've worked with, but you're going to have to do a little like meal prep on Sunday. just so you have everything ready for you to go. And some of you work 9 to 5 jobs and you got to get there. So you'll have a little less time during the week to be able to make your actual meals. So we want to make that as less stressful as possible. It's only for 1 week, so we can do anything for a week. So if we give that a try, the meal prepping thing is great. I like to call meal prepping actually just making extra food. I feel like it's less technical. I feel like I've some of the people I've worked with said that it's just easier to think about extra food than, oh, I'm going to do meal prep. So whichever works for you, that's great. A couple other things to think about. There's a lot of spices in the recipes. You might not have tried those spices before. So if you go to a store that actually has like bulk spices, then you can get exactly what you need. For me, I usually, no matter what recipe I've ever looked at, I usually put 2 or 3 times the amount of spices that it says on the recipe. But that's just me. I spice up my food pretty good. Usually there's a lot of antioxidants in spices. There might also be some things on this list that you may not recognize or may not know where they are or have heard of them before. Chia seeds is one thing that isn't always on people's menu. So if you go to the store and you don't know where to find those, you can just ask for help. It's always a good way to find things easily. The other thing in there is black rice. The reason why black rice is in there compared to any of the other rices, black rice is actually a seed and is not a grain. So you have to make it a little bit different. Tells you right on the package how to make that. And actually, directions are in the recipe guide. But black rice is a great option for rice if you need it. A lot of people can't live without rice. So black rice, and actually, I think Faye and I talked about this before, there's a red rice too. So I'm not sure I've ever seen that in the US, but obviously in the Philippines, that is a thing. So, and it's way more nourishing for you than regular old white rice. All right. Any questions so far? A couple more things to go over, and then I'll show you some of the details of some of these guides so you can really check them out. All right, I don't see anything yet, but you can pop those in there at any time. All right, a couple other things to do, and this is all in the handbook, just to keep things moving in your system. If you're not at a point where you're drinking half your body weight in ounces every day, let's try to get there if you do latch onto the program, just because, again, the more you drink, the more those toxins are going to get washed out. It also hydrates the stuff in your bowels. So if you're having trouble going to the bathroom every single day, getting extra water might just be the hydration that you need to, bump the cars off the track like we talked about before. The other thing I highly recommend just to keep the toxins out of your system is not to use disposable water bottles. There's a lot of research about microparticles and microplastics in water that comes in plastic bottles. So it's better just to kind of keep that out of your 5-day period. Anytime you can put water like into a stainless steel container, that's always better. All right. The next really important tip is to be mindful when you eat. So don't rush through your meals. Don't watch TV while you're eating or be on your phone while you're eating? Because I'm sure you can think about a time where you were in front of the TV or on your phone and then you just keep eating and keep eating and keep eating. Think about like when you went to a movie and you got a big bowl of popcorn, right? You're just like mindlessly eating while you're watching the movie. And that's just going to help you overeat. So even if you have good food and you overeat good food, that can still cause problems with weight loss if that's one of your goals. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of these things. Okay, the next thing we'll look at is a daily checklist. So let me expand my screen here. Let me share. Okay, so here's part of the handbook. This is going to be on page 14, but there's a daily checklist. So for each of the 5 days. All right, so drink lots of water. Nice warm lemon water in the morning helps things get moving in your system. So that's cool. Be more conscientious about your moving throughout the day. So try to get some extra movement in. Maybe that's like taking a little extra walk or, you know, pacing back and forth in your house a little bit if you're confined to your house, or taking a little bike ride or something outdoors is always great. What is it? This weekend is the longest day with the amount of sunlight for a day in the year. So, you know, it's hard for those of us that go to bed at 8 o'clock every day to get to sleep when it's still nice and bright out. Practice some gratitude as well. So, however that looks for you, I know some of you write in a gratitude journal. Um, Sometimes you just think about gratitude. That's just going to help kind of ease the mind. Um, Kind of stick to the meal guidelines as best you can. I'm also going to give you a dining out guide. So if you have to break down and go out to eat, I have a document that shows you how to eat in different types of ethnic restaurants. Especially in the US, we get a lot of stuff that goes into our food that we probably don't know about. All right, go to bed early. That's another one. So we're not talking like 3 hours early, maybe just 10, 15 minutes and see what that does. So we're creating an environment to make us successful. And we're trying all of these things to see how they work for us. So really try to stick to these things. You know, none of us is perfect. And, you know, I think your body's going to notice that things are different, you know, especially for those first 2 days as you go through them. You could print these out and use them as a check sheet, or if you have some other way to check off habits, you can check those off um, with an app as well. All right. Any question about the daily checklist? Okay, and there's one here for every day, so you can just whoop. Okay, here's my little disclaimer. All right. Okay, any questions about the daily checklist? All right, let me pop over to the recipe list so you can kind of get a look at that. Whoop. Okay. Okay. All right. Can everybody see the recipe guide? There we go. Okay. So this is just a suggested recipe list. There's also going to be a blank one on there for you to fill it in if you feel like you need to fill it in. Don't feel like you have to use any of those things, but it's there to use as a tool. So here's your create your own recipe. Again, you don't have to use that if you don't want. The first section is the basics. So these are kind of things that you can use to add to any meal. So roasted vegetables, it shows you how to make those. Um, Black rice, like I was talking to you about. That one's cool. Another rice substitute is riced cauliflower. I always think that, riced cauliflower always, and even rice just tastes like whatever you put on it. So some of you can dispute that, but for me, that's how it works. Quinoa is another one that of another thing that you can try throughout the week to see how that works for you. All right, then there's options for breakfast. I'm not a big oats fan, but there is a recipe for oats. Um, Smoothie, green eggs, just has some um, greens in it. There's options for lunch, bunch of different options. If you're like me, I could probably eat the same thing all week. So, depending on who you are, you can decide what you want to pull in and out of there. And then there's a bunch of dinners at the end. And then at the very end of it is here's some alternative recipes that you can use in case you don't like those things. So there should be enough things on here to get you through for 5 days. The salad ideas, like I said, you can use, there's directions for that. Choose at least 3 different types of lettuces or one. Add a healthy fat into it. There's a bunch of healthy fats. Pick a protein to throw in there. You can put some extra vegetables on there if you so choose. And some salad dressings. There's recipes on how to make those salad dressings. I made a knockoff recipe of this one dressing that I got at the store, and it almost tastes exactly the same. So if you find a dressing that you like and want to kind of flip out the ingredients for those things so you can make sure that you're getting good ingredients, that'd be great. And there's even some options for snacks down at the bottom. Although kale chips would not be my snack of choice. That's just me. All right. And then there's a whole bunch of other different snack ideas in case you need that. One thing to think about as far as like timing when you eat as well, Grant and I talked about this many times, is try to keep, 2 or 3 hours between your last meal and when you go to bed. You want your body to actually repair itself during sleep rather than work on digestion. I know for me personally, and some people can eat later than others and not feel bad, but if I eat closer to bed and I'm really full, I have a horrible night's sleep, and my watch tells me so. And I don't know why I do it. I know it's going to happen every single time I eat late. I always have a horrible night's sleep, but I just continue to do it sometimes. So, sometimes those lessons are a little harder to learn than we might like. All right, let's see if there's any other things. All right, went over the daily protocol. There'll be, like I said, there'll be a shopping list. I also put a supplement guide in there too. One of the things in that you can use as an easy thing to add on to your a detox or a reset is dandelion tea. I'm sure Melissa knows about dandelion tea. This is just one that I happen to pick up, but it's really good for helping detox your body. All right. Then anything extra you can do for self-care is going to be a bonus. All right. Whether that's like a sauna or a massage or just taking time for yourself or doing a little bit of breath work. Any of those things can be helpful. Even if you're at a very busy job and you just take 5 seconds to just, take a deep breath, sometimes that's enough to help you calm down your nervous system a little bit so you can continue to take on the day. All right. I think that is about it. So if at any time you get hungry, I would encourage you to actually drink first because sometimes your body sends you mixed signals on whether you're thirsty or hungry. So always take some water in first before you eat. That's just a general rule of thumb any old time, but especially these 5 days. But if you're hungry, have one of those snacks that's on one of those lists. There's a lot of different foods there. So hopefully there's something that resonates with you as far as snacks go. If you're thirsty, drink. If you're tired, get yourself somewhere where you can take a few minutes to reset, or even, it's okay to take a nap every now and then. All right. If you need, if you have questions as you go through, if you do latch onto the program, then most of you know what my phone number is, or you can message me on Facebook and I will get back to you as soon as I can. All right. And I think that's about it. I think Faye can pop in. Can you pop in the link to register, Faye? I think you have it. If you don't have it, I think I have it here somewhere. But all right, I'm going to open it up to any questions that you have or any comments, or maybe even any successes that you've had in the past with doing any of the things that we talked about.
Okay, this is funny, Steve. I've been health. I've had to pay attention to my health due to health, heart issues, and cholesterol. So this is actually perfect timing for me right now because for the last 4 days I've actually started to get smarter again. Um, all the information can be up here, but am I following it? Always no. So I'm actually this is almost like perfect timing for me because I need something to stay more accountable to. Accept my own laurels. Sometimes it's not always, you can't always do that.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in learning more about this for sure. Um, just a bit more of like, are you going to do daily calls or anything like that, or is it just we're
Oh
on the
yeah, good
phone and
point. I
problems?
forgot to mention that. So at 6 o'clock every night next week, I'm gonna hop on this same Facebook link. If you want to pop on, answer any questions. I have plenty of work to do, so if nobody shows up, I can do what I need to do. Faye helps keep me accountable for those things. But yeah, I'll be on every night at 6:30, and then or 6, and then on Thursday we'll have a end of the reset meeting
What
to
time on Thursday? Just curious, because
same time every day.
okay, because
Let's keep it simple.
okay,
Use the KISS method.
uh, dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, and like I said, most of you have my phone number, so if you run into questions about that, then you can just send me a message. Anything else that you're curious about? And while you're thinking, while you're popping up on next Thursday, I'll give you a plan to do one of two things. The first thing is to make this last a lot longer. Thing number two is to do a slow reintroduction of those things that you didn't do over those 5 days. And that's always a good experiment to do to see if you're sensitive to any of those things that you took out. Like gluten is one of those things that you're not going to find anywhere on that recipe guide.
Yep.
All right. If you've never been off gluten before, that'll be a great opportunity to reintroduce that after 5 days, although 5 days isn't too long to be off gluten, to see magical results. But when you reintroduce it, you can see if your body reacts adversely to gluten. Casein's another one. That's the protein in milk products. Um, that is not in there anywhere as well. So those are a couple common allergens that are pretty much taken out of all the recipes that are in this guide. And seed oils. Grant knows all about seed oils.
What seed oils are that you say that you don't recommend? What would they be?
Anything except olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, and I have issues with palm oil, not because it's bad for you, but it's not very amenable to our planet.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. Yeah, okay.
But those are the ones that I use. You can use butter too.
Yeah. I generally stick with avocado oil and olive oil and coconut oil. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Any other questions?
So you want this whole thing starts on the goal is the 22nd to the 26th?
Yeah, that's the 5 day window. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to start a day or two before?
So I've
Knock
kind of
yourself
already started and I'm trying to stay good. And
out.
it's like,
Awesome.
it's been like hummus and veggies and cucumbers, um, and then the brain, the cravings, like you can just imagine a donut and you just want it. It's like, no, don't. I actually had bread today, which I don't have bread every day, but I had bread today and I actually feel a little different. It's like, oh, I wish I didn't have it. Um,
Yeah. Isn't that
but
crazy? When you just off
yeah,
of it for a little bit.
I've actually been off wheat, dairy, and sugar many times in my life, and I've done many things, but it's like I have to get very, very, very serious about certain things. It's like my health and my heart depend on it. So yeah,
And
I
the
see
other
the oncologist tomorrow as well. Again, I had a stress test yesterday. It's like, yeah, lots going on.
the other thing to think about is like every year is a different stage of our life. So even though we may not have been sensitive to gluten when we were 20, maybe we are when we're 30, or maybe we weren't when we were 30, but when we're 50, then we're sensitive to it. So it's always good to periodically try these things out to see if, oh, this is really causing me problems overall. And maybe I should think about not having that in there.
Yep.
Anything else? Let's see. Ethan, any questions? On the Jackie, any questions? Grant, any questions?
No, I don't think so. I will say I've done something similar to this before, and it works. I'm not near in the position I was then, but I was like your dad. I lost. I think it was over a period of 2 months that I was really pushing it, and I lost like 30 pounds a month.
Yeah,
So
easy.
it's crazy how well it works.
Yeah, and it's hard to know how much of that is inflammation and how much of that is like actual fat.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of it had to do with all the calories I was drinking and stuff like that too, but
Yeah,
I mean, it was a noticeable difference in a month. Very noticeable.
yeah. Yeah, like I said at the top, it was like I lost 30 pounds in 3 months. You know, by adding a little bit of exercise at the time. I wasn't really doing a ton of exercise then, but mostly just changing, my philosophy of food and what I did actually eat. Anybody else? All right. So if you do plan on doing this, I would like you to send me what your real intention is for doing this for yourself. Like, why are you doing this for yourself? Why is it important to you? Because everybody's going to have their own, story, their own reason for trying to make a change for the better. So I would love to hear those. If you know what it is now, you can let us know. But if you need, a couple days to even think about it, that would be great. To just drop it, let us know. And then on Thursday, how did you come out the other side? Which I do it on Thursday and not Friday because some people are busy on Friday night, so I don't want to like show up and then everybody's doing their own thing. So Thursday is usually a better night for that. So Thursday will be day 4, obviously, and then you'll be on your own for day 5. But all of you know how to get a hold of me, so even if it's not until the weekend after or the weekend after that where you notice some changes in your life, in your brain or in your body or wherever, that you can reach out and let me know.
I just sent you a message, Steve, so we'll talk.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and in the chat box is like, I made this low cost just so as many people as possible could do it, and get all those resources. And I'll send those things your way. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. All right. All of you, again, know how to get a hold of me. So please reach out if you need to. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Anything. Bye-bye.
Bye.